Hey, this is Ramon, Channel Alpha 4, and this is a response to Jordan B Peterson, to one of his latest videos about disabilities. Let me first say that I love Jordan B Peterson. I like him, I like his lectures, and so I like his stuff. I'm very interested in all of his stuff. His maps of meaning stuff I've watched, and I watched his on the Bible stuff. I don't agree with him on his assessment, at least not completely, on his assessment about disability. So, I'm dyslexic. That doesn't mean that I think he's completely wrong. But when I was in college, I've run up against professors who thought dyslexia was fake, who thought that dyslexia didn't exist and that it was a made-up diagnosis. I can tell you for a fact that I am dyslexic. P, Q, lowercase b, the number 9 are a nightmare for me. They flip. It's hard to tell the difference. I literally see the world upside down. And it hasn't been horrible for me. In fact, I've been thinking about making a video about this for a while. But then Jordan Peterson made his thing decrying, let's just say, student assistants. And I think that's a mistake. While I do agree that some extremes, like taking 8 hours for a 6-hour test is nuts, taking 2 hours for a 1-hour test is a little nuts, I can tell you that as a dyslexic person, I can take an oral exam and get an A. And I can do the same exam written and get either a C or even a D. Okay? I just can. Writing is not great for me. Handwriting, my handwriting is basically unlegible. But does that mean that I'm disabled? No. So for this, I'll have to tell a little story. So if you're still with me, congratulations. So I'm dyslexic, and as a kid I got diagnosed. I got diagnosed multiple times because they wanted to be really sure. And I'm as dyslexic as dyslexic people get. So I flip letters, I have trouble with numbers, like keeping them straight in my head. Dates are a nightmare for me. But I'm really good linguistically. Like I can remember whole conversations. I can remember details from 10 or 20 years ago. So that's like really cool. It's a really cool skill. So they spend a lot of time developing my memory skills and my recall skills. And then they put me in a thing called resource. And this is back in elementary school and junior high. And this is during the days of self-esteem programs in public schools. So I got taken out of class a lot. And that would have been my life, would just have been dyslexia programs, which included linguistic classes, like how to pronounce words, and included handwriting classes. But basically in these classes, you didn't do jack shit. You just watch videos and you'd play. Even in junior high, you were playing. You weren't really learning. They weren't making you study harder. Even early morning tutoring wasn't really tutoring. It was more like going over the homework from the night before. So it kind of gave you a crutch. In fact, one teacher even said in junior high, when she noticed that I wasn't struggling like the other students in these, let's call them developmental and resource classes, that I wasn't struggling, she said, "You're using your disability as a crutch. You don't belong here." Now, I did not like doing homework, and I'm a lazy shit, so I was like, nah, whatever. Then I got to high school, and it was probably around 10th grade, maybe 11th, and you have to go through that evaluation to like, what are you going to do for graduation? And they're like, oh, by the way, you don't have to do this thing. I'm like, well, why don't I have to do the evaluation? Oh, because you graduate regardless. And I was like, what does that mean? They go, well, you're going to get a diploma equivalent. I was like, what? They go, oh, well, since you're doing resource and since you're only taking half of the school load, of the workload, you're going to get a diploma equivalent. And I'm like, well, what's that mean? Well, they're like, it's higher than a GED, but it's not quite a diploma. And basically when you go to college, it'll open up other programs for you for assistance and for aid. So you'll be able to get financial aid, you'll be able to get certain types of scholarships and accommodations. And I was like, hold up, wait, I'm not going to get a diploma. I'm going through all this school for nothing. So I went out. I want to test out. Is it possible for me to test out? And they said, well, yeah, it's possible, but you're not going to be able to do it. No one's been able to pass these tests ever. Nobody can test out. And I'm like, well, I want to do it. And so they have a meeting and they call me in and they're like, look, are you sure you want to do this? Because even if, let's say, you do pass this, then suddenly all these accommodations and all these programs that you have will be gone. You won't be able to be available for any of this. Now, at the time, I didn't understand they were talking about funding, and they were saying that I was going to take money away from their funding for these special programs and for their teachers that do these programs. I didn't understand that at all. All I understood is I want a diploma, and you're telling me I'm not going to get one even though I've gone through 12 years of school. So I said, no, I want my fucking diploma. And yes, I'm cussing. All right. So, what happened? They gave me an IQ test. Now, mind you, I've taken other standardized tests before, TASP and all this other stuff, and I'm a straight C student. I'm a straight C student throughout school. I don't ever do homework. I don't study. I'm a straight C student. So I was expecting to get a C, and by the way, these tests, to get out of the program, you cannot score a C. You can't score average. You have to score above average to get out of the program. So to get into the program, all you have to do is score below the average of the school district. But to get out of the program, you have to score above the average of the school district. Oh yeah, it's that insidious. So once you're in that program, they got you locked in, man. They got that funding locked in. Well, I take the test. And I feel good about the test. It's actually easier than I thought it was going to be because I'm bad at math, I'm bad at spelling. That's what I thought this test was going to be. I thought it was going to be nothing but spelling and nothing but math. Instead, it was like logic problems and word problems and comprehension problems. And it turns out that in the comprehension part of the test, part of the exam, I aced it. I got a perfect score. It turns out nobody in my school district had ever gotten a perfect score on the verbal or on the comprehension. On the math, I got a C. I got basically an average. Okay, now, it's an IQ test, so it's not exactly broken up into letter grades. It's broken up into a number score. I don't remember the number score. All I remember is that they were like, you scored higher than the school average. So I got thrown into AP and CP courses. I was in auto shop and wood shop, and now suddenly I was in debate and a college psychology class, and I just was not prepared for any of that. And suddenly I couldn't go get any of the help that I'd gotten before. But I graduated and I was happy. So then I went to college. And at first I fucked around in college for a while. I didn't take it seriously. Would go into classes with my friends, and my friends were all dumbasses, so it was all remedial classes. And I was like, who cares? I'm paying with my own money. I can do what I want. Well, then I started taking school seriously. And it turns out once I started studying and doing my work, my grade point average turned into a 4.0. What's that about? And suddenly my math, okay? So remember that whole tutoring thing, how it didn't work out when it was done as a crutch? But it turns out if you go before class and you study with the professor during their lunch, and then you study after class, turns out you can ace a math class with a perfect score. So I graduated from college with a 4.0, knocking out all my BS developmental classes that I fucked around in. So, my remedial classes, out the window. Hard classes, ups the stakes, and that's all good. Except, I had one professor who was like, no, dyslexia is not real. And I got into a fight with him over that. I didn't want help. I didn't want him to give me a break. I just didn't like the fact that he wouldn't acknowledge that it's a real condition. Okay, then, when I went to a different university, I had a cancer scare, and it meant I was no longer performing as well as I should. And I had a professor who would only accept papers that were handwritten. I'm dyslexic. I can't handwrite for shit. So I went and I told him, look, I'm perfectly capable of taking this exam. I'm perfectly capable of taking it in front of you. You want to give me a time limit, I'll accept the time limit. Whatever you want me to do to prove that I know it, I can do it, except I cannot do it by handwriting. I either need to type it out on a computer, or I need to tell you the information orally, and I can do it completely orally, including citations, and I'm willing to memorize the citations to get this done. And he said, I can't do that, but if you simply go to the whatever the student disability area and get yourself a piece of paper that says that you were in a disability program, I'll give you this accommodation. And I was like, well, I can't do that. I tested out of all those programs. No, he goes, well, then I can't help you. So, Dr. Peterson, if you're listening to this, which I don't know that you will, how do you answer that problem? I'll tell you how I answered it. I dropped out. I was going through a major cancer scare. My life had fallen apart, and that was my last straw. I quit. Went to teaching martial arts, and I did that for the last now 17 years. In fact, just in the last 3 years have I gotten back into philosophy. My life would be completely different had that professor simply gone with the accommodation that was within his power to give me. I'm not saying that I wanted a free ride. I'm not saying that I wasn't willing to do the work. I'm saying that because of my limitations, and because I know my limitations, I have to acknowledge those limitations and work around them. And learning how to do that is a great skill. But not everyone's willing to give you that opportunity to work around your limitation. So, while I don't have a problem with the idea of working hard, I do have a problem of the idea of not giving someone the opportunity to work as hard as they can. And then if they can't measure up, fine, they can't measure up. So, peace, like, subscribe. Dr. Peterson, I hope you see this, and I hope you respond. If not, I hope someone watches this. Peace.